2 years ago, my wife cheated, and now she wants her freedom back. I don't know if I can take it anymore. 2 years ago, my wife had an affair with a guy from work. I had no idea until she messed up and sent me a text meant for him. Instead of confronting her right away, I kept my cool. I spent the whole weekend gathering evidence, tracking down every detail. I even followed the guy back to his place and found out he had a whole family of his own. It was a complete mess. Come Monday, after the kids were off to school, I laid it all out. I showed her the evidence I'd gathered, expecting some kind of denial or excuse, but instead, she just crumbled. She confessed to everything, 8 months of sneaking around behind my back. She begged me not to leave her, and I was torn. I knew that if we split, she'd probably take the kids 2 states away, and I couldn't risk losing them. So, I gave her an ultimatum. We end it now, or she follows my rules to the letter. I needed her to give a full confession, change jobs, cut ties with the friends who supported her, and hand over all her passwords. I made her check in with me every 30 minutes when she was out. I know it sounds extreme, but I wasn't taking any chances. Fast forward to now, and things have gotten complicated. She's saying she's lonely at work and wants to go out with coworkers again. She's asking for more trust and even tried to get intimate the other night, but I just couldn't go through with it. She's been dropping hints about wanting another baby too. The other night she got all dressed up, looking absolutely stunning, and I froze. She ended up crying in the bathroom, and it tore me up inside, but I'm just not there yet. And now, there's the Vegas trip. Her old best friend, the one who knew about the affair, is getting married, and my wife wants to go to the bachelorette party. She didn't outright ask, but I know what she meant when she brought it up. I'm stuck. If I keep enforcing the rules, she might resent me, but if I back off, I don't know if I can ever really trust her. I'm exhausted. I want to believe her, but there's always that voice in the back of my head telling me to stay on guard. Update 1. I decided to let her go to the Vegas bachelorette party. It wasn't an easy choice, but I felt like I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. If I said no, she'd resent me more than she already does for the rules I've been enforcing. If I said yes, I'd spend the whole weekend on edge, waiting for a text or call to confirm my worst fears. So, I set conditions. She had to share her location at all times, send me updates, and no drinking to the point of losing control. I know it sounds controlling, but considering the history, I wasn't taking any risks. She agreed, although I could tell she wasn't thrilled. When the weekend came, she left for Vegas. The first day was okay. She texted me when she landed, shared a picture of her hotel room, and even sent a short video of her and her friends getting ready for dinner. I thought, maybe this won't be so bad. But then the second day hit, and things got weird. She started being slower to respond. Her texts were shorter, like, can't talk right now, or busy with the girls. At one point, her location wasn't updating, and when I asked, she said her phone had died, but didn't explain why she hadn't charged it. I tried not to spiral, but my mind went straight to worst-case scenarios. That night, I got a text from her at around midnight saying, "Just got back to the room. Love you." It felt off. She doesn't usually say, "love you" like that, especially not when we're in this tense phase of rebuilding trust. I didn't reply right away because I didn't know what to say, and honestly, I was overthinking everything. The next morning, she called me. Her voice sounded weird, kind of shaky. She said she wanted to check in, but before I could ask her anything, she brought up something I didn't expect. She said, "Hey, if you see any weird charges on the credit card, just know it was for a surprise for you." I froze. A surprise? In Vegas? That's not exactly a comforting combination of words. I didn't push it then, but I checked our joint credit card. There were 3 charges, one for a restaurant, one for a spa, and one for a boutique. Nothing crazy, but that boutique charge stuck out because it was in the middle of the night. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, but the pit in my stomach was growing. When she got back, I tried to act normal, but something felt off between us. She was quieter than usual, almost like she was walking on eggshells. I waited until the kids were asleep to bring it up. I asked her straight up about the boutique charge and what the surprise was. She hesitated, then said it was a gift for me, and she'd give it to me later. Later turned out to be the next day, when she handed me a small box with cufflinks inside. They were nice, but I couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't the whole story. I asked why she bought them so late at night, and she got defensive. She said, "I was out with the girls, we passed by the shop, and I thought of you. Is that a crime?" It felt like she was deflecting, but I didn't push further. Maybe I didn't want to know. A week later, I found out what really happened, not from her, but from one of her friends. One of the girls at the party posted a picture on social media. It was a group shot at some fancy bar, and there, in the corner, was a guy. He wasn't with them exactly, but he was close enough that it felt weird. I asked her about it, and she admitted he was a friend of the bride's fiancé. I asked if she had talked to him, and she said no. She swore she barely noticed him, that he was just there. But I wasn't buying it. Why didn't she mention him when she got back? Why did it take me finding out from a random picture? This led to a huge fight. I told her that if she wanted me to trust her, she had to stop hiding things, even small ones. She said I was overreacting, that I was punishing her for something she didn't even do. I asked why she didn't tell me about the guy being there, and she said, "Because I knew you'd freak out like this." That's when I realized we were at a stalemate. She wants me to trust her, but I don't know if I ever truly can. And now I'm stuck wondering if this is just my paranoia, or if she's still hiding something. To make things worse, I found out that her best friend, the one who knew about the affair and said nothing, was at the party too. She had promised me she'd cut ties with anyone who supported her during the affair. But apparently, that didn't include this person. When I brought it up, she said, "She's not a bad person. She just made a mistake." I told her that mistake cost us our marriage, and her keeping this person in her life was a slap in the face to me. She apologized, but didn't offer to cut her off. Now, I don't know where to go from here. I've tried everything, giving her chances, setting boundaries, being patient, but it feels like we're stuck in this endless loop of her wanting forgiveness and me not being able to give it fully. At this point, I'm not sure if we're even fixing things anymore or just delaying the inevitable. Update 2. After that fight, things between us got tense, like walking on eggshells all the time. She started acting like I was the problem, telling me I wasn't giving her a chance to prove herself. But every time she said something like that, I'd just think about the Vegas trip and the way she lied by omission. I couldn't shake the feeling that something didn't add up. A couple of weeks later, we had another big argument. It started over something small. She wanted to go to a happy hour with coworkers, and I hesitated. I didn't say no outright, but I brought up the whole trust issue again. She snapped. She said, "How am I supposed to rebuild anything if you keep locking me in a cage?" I didn't have an answer for that because maybe she was right, but I couldn't pretend I was ready to let my guard down either. The next morning, I was still thinking about the argument when something happened that threw everything off balance. My phone buzzed with a message from one of her friends, the same one who posted that group shot from Vegas. She sent me a private message saying she thought I deserved to know the truth. Apparently, during the Vegas trip, there was more going on than my wife let on. That guy in the group picture? He wasn't just some random friend of the bride's fiancé. He and my wife had been chatting during the party. Her friend didn't know the details, but said she saw them talking outside the bar for a long time. She swore nothing inappropriate happened, at least not that she knew of. But the fact that my wife didn't tell me any of this made it feel shady. I confronted my wife that night. I told her I knew about the conversation with the guy outside. At first, she denied it, but when I told her I had a source, she froze. Then she started crying, saying it wasn't what I thought. She claimed he came outside to smoke, and they just talked for a bit. I asked why she didn't tell me, and her excuse was, because I didn't think it mattered. Didn't matter? To me, it mattered a lot. If there's one thing we agreed on when we decided to stay together, it was that she'd be honest about everything, even the small stuff. She said she didn't want to stress me out over something innocent, but I told her it wasn't her decision to make. She wasn't just hiding things, she was deciding for me what was important. That night, I slept in the guest room. I needed space to think. Everything felt like it was unraveling. Over the next few days, I started paying more attention to her behavior. She was being extra nice, cooking dinner without being asked, randomly hugging me, even leaving sticky notes with little "I love you" messages around the house. It felt like she was trying to distract me from the bigger issue, but instead of comforting me, it just made me suspicious. Then the breaking point came. A few nights later, I was going through our shared email, something we'd agreed on when setting boundaries post-affair, and I found something strange. She had forwarded herself an email from work. The subject line was, "Looking forward to the next meeting," and it was from a male coworker I didn't recognize. I asked her about it, and her face went pale. She said it was nothing, just a work email she needed for a project. I told her to open it, and when she did, I could see she was sweating. The email wasn't inappropriate, but it was friendly, too friendly. The guy wrote, "It was great chatting with you after the meeting. Let me know when you're free to grab coffee and brainstorm more ideas." I asked her why she forwarded it to herself, and she said she wanted to remember to respond later. But it didn't sit right with me. I told her, "This isn't about the email, it's about the pattern. Every time I give you an inch, you take a mile." She broke down and started crying again, saying she was trying her best, but I wasn't letting her move forward. She said I was holding the past over her head, and that no matter what she did, it would never be enough. Maybe she's right. Maybe I'm just too broken to trust her again. But at the same time, she keeps making choices that put her in these situations. If she really wanted to rebuild trust, wouldn't she avoid anything that even looked suspicious? I don't know anymore. Every time I think about the affair, it feels like it just happened yesterday. The lies, the betrayal, the way she begged me not to leave while knowing what she'd done. It all plays on a loop in my head. And now, with these little cracks in her behavior, it feels like I'm right back where I started. We've been talking about going back to counseling, but honestly, I don't know if it'll help. Counseling can't make me forget what happened, and it can't force her to make better choices. Right now, I'm stuck. I'm exhausted from constantly wondering if she's being honest. I'm tired of second-guessing everything she says and does. But the thought of splitting up and barely seeing my kids makes me feel sick. I've been trying to figure out if I'm staying for them or because I still care about her deep down. Maybe it's both. But whatever it is, I'm starting to feel like I'm losing myself in all this.